right and what's wrong. We need instruction. We need help on how to work this life. Discipline is also paired with a prudent life. A prudent life is a term for practical wisdom. Practical wisdom says that you don't tug on Superman's cape, okay? You can for a buck. I don't know what they're doing up there. It has a disclaimer at the bottom and says spitting in the wind or taking a mask off the old Lone Ranger or messing around with Jim costs extra. Practical wisdom, okay? You don't do these things, and the prudent person has that kind of practical wisdom. All the young kids are going, what was that all about? Diane is up here singing the song. Stop it. You can Google it, guys. You can use the Google and find it. All right. Prudence is the ability to size up a situation and respond to it correctly. If I was sizing up the situation in an airplane, I would think that the airplane was just perfectly fine and I would stay inside it. But they're looking out at wind conditions and ground conditions and all kinds of conditions, and they're going to jump. That might be prudent on their behalf, but it's not a prudent thing. But we have to be able to size up that situation and then do what's right in that situation. That's what prudence is all about. The disciplined life is characterized in verse 3 by righteousness and justice and fairness, or equity. They use that word equity, fairness, here in these verses. That's what we're supposed to look like. Those words are used to describe God. And because God is the standard of our behavior, and we want to become like His Son, Jesus Christ, we are going to have fairness and righteousness and justice in our lives. As the attributes of God, they're our standard for interaction. We can recognize a wise person because they are fair and they are righteous and they are just. That's how you recognize who a wise person is. Now in verse 4 we meet the student for the first time. The student is always in view here in the book of Proverbs because it's a teacher telling the student what they are supposed to do. The person that it talks about is the simple or the untutored, meaning untaught rather than stupid, okay? We're not talking about how smart you are. We're talking about how much life experience you have and how much life experience you have doing what God says, okay? Now, you can do the same stupid thing over and over and over and over again, okay, and still obtain bad results. And you've got lots of experience, but it's not wise experience. And God is not saying that a simple person is stupid or not worth anything. He's just saying that this person needs to be taught by God in what God has to say. And so it's untaught rather than stupid. And the simple, they're going to go on to say, can be led astray. And because they can be led astray, because they don't have the experience to deal with the world and the experience that God wants to give them, they are vulnerable to some distractions and to some problems in this world. Now, the term simple is sometimes parallel with the young. And he's basically meaning that the young don't have a lot of experience. They don't have a lot of experience putting these proverbs into practice in many different situations in life. And so they're not saying that the kids are stupid. It's just that they don't have a lot of experience in this area. So he tells us that both the simple and the young will benefit from these proverbs. Prudence, in this particular verse, is actually a different word than we've run into earlier. You know, I could not find any pictures of a person being prudent. You know, I go on to Google and I type in prudence and I get nothing that says anything about prudence. This is as close as I got. The best of patience and prudence, these two sisters who sing for you. You know, prudence is something that maybe we've just abandoned from our society. But what it is it's the ability to not say everything you know. You know kids, well, especially 4-year-olds. They will tell you everything they know. Oh, yeah, Mommy and Daddy had a fight on the way to church. Yeah, shut up. You know, they will tell you everything. Well, that prudent person, you know, knows when to keep their mouth shut. Now, prudence and discretion, which is the next one, don't say everything that comes into your mind has its advantages. Like if you see an alien, don't say that because you're going to be thought to be a fool. It's better to be a fool and keep your mouth closed and be suspected of being one than to open your mouth and prove that you are. Something like that. Abraham Lincoln said that? Good deal. Prudence and discretion, which is the ability to make plans, can, like prudence, be also used in a negative term. So the ability to keep silent, not say everything you know, can be sneakiness. And that's not a good thing. Discretion, which is this ability to plan, is a good thing, but it can also be like crafty. And, you're devising plans for evil. So some of these terms can be used with an evil characteristic if they're used with an evil purpose. But God says we need to have discretion. We need to be able to plan. We need to have purposes. We need to be able to keep our thoughts to ourselves at times and know when to talk. Verse 5 brings another group of people into our view. Wisdom is not only for the simple, it is also for the wise. Nobody gets left out of having to make wise decisions. And you can make wise decisions all of your life and then all of a sudden do something amazingly stupid. You can do this. I know. I do it all the time. That's implying that I'm wise most of the time, which is probably not true either. But wisdom needs to be done by everyone. By putting the wise between the simple and the fools, which are coming up, we see that decision to be wise has to be made by everyone all the time. No one gets out of this process. Just because you've been practiced in the Christian life does not mean that you are excused from making wise decisions. And then in verse 6, we see the means by which the author hopes to put us onto the path of wisdom. And the means are parables and proverbs and sayings and riddles. And not only do these forms teach wisdom, but they also offer help in practicing discerning and wisdom. So if you take a riddle, where's my riddle? I'll get to it in a minute. I don't know where I am in my outline anymore. The proverb and the parable both compare in order to teach. Sayings and riddles are less clear. Here's my riddle. What is black and white and red all over? A newspaper. Some of you may have been thinking a sunburned zebra. That would be fine. Riddles are supposed to help you to learn how to think. And so these proverbs don't just give you truth on the surface. They want you to delve down and start to think about them. And in the process of thinking about them, you will also become learned in how to think. So when you face a real situation in promoting and having to apply one of these proverbs, you'll have already learned how to think. I want to talk about my older brother for a moment. He was 40 years old before he got this joke, this riddle. And that is, how do you get down off an elephant? You don't get down off an elephant. You get down off of a duck. Now, for years, my older brother, who is very smart, thought this was a nonsense joke because, ducks and elephants don't have anything to do with each other. He hadn't learned to think through the process of this joke to come up with the knowledge that down was not referred to as getting down off the elephant, as in location, but getting feathers off the elephant. And you can't get feathers off of an elephant. You have to get down feathers off of a duck. He was 40. I got to make fun of him today. Before he figured this out. That just goes to show you that intelligent people have to learn how to think. And the Proverbs not only tell you what to do in a situation, but they also will teach you how to think. And that is an incredibly wonderful thing in my mind. Because not only do they do it for you, but they also teach you how to think before you even get to the situation. In verse 7, the author has saved the best for last, and that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. It is just the beginning, and it's the beginning of the entire book. He's not saying this is the end of wisdom. He's saying this is the beginning of wisdom. And this is the attitude that you're going to have throughout your life as you apply wisdom to situations. Now, the fear of the gods was not emphasized in Canaanite religion. It was